When I look what has happened in Kasungu and what I've seen happen in the region, I get motivated by a sense of outrage. So you get people that look at that and they get sad. You get other people that look at that and they get mad. And then you get some people who look at that and they go get even. My name is Michael Bashane. I'm currently the program head of the I4 Kasungu Luwambe Lukasuzi Elephant Landscape Project. If you look at the levels of animals that were to be found in Malawi's 8 national parks and wildlife reserves in the 1970s and compare it to today, Kasungu is unquestionably the most depleted park. Kasungu National Park is about 230,000 hectares, and it used to be part of a huge and very rich system that ran into the Luangwa Valley. And what we have, instead of animals moving through a vast and rich system, we've had animals compressed into a tiny part of habitat that they're choosing only to escape poaching pressure. Now, the extent of this destruction is overwhelming. You see the absolute collapse of all our large mammal populations. Elephants declining from 1,200 to 46. Buffalo declining from over 1,000 to about 60. Zebra declining from about 500 to 6. You're looking at the loss of the value of the animal. You're looking at the loss of the value of the tourism product. You're looking at the massive cost of trying to recreate what we've lost. And if you look at Malawi, one of the poorest countries in the world, to have this type of loss is quite staggering. And that is just in economic terms. If you look at the extent of the suffering of the animals, the extent of the cruelty, that too is overwhelming. And we have to ask ourselves, what is the correct response to this? Do we all cry ourselves a river? Do we show how much we care and how virtuous we are by weeping and wailing? Or are we actually going to have what it takes to address this problem and confront the people that are taking the value from this park, from the natural system, and from the people of Malawi? Our primary focus is a focus on law enforcement. So it's an armed law enforcement operation aimed at combating armed criminals. One of our huge problems in Kasungu that is actually prevalent and rampant throughout sub-Saharan Africa is your corrupt ranger force. So a lot of our rangers currently in Kasungu are either habitually drunk, colluding with poachers, or actively involved in poaching. People often ask me how many officers are needed in the park. And the correct answer to that is how many officers can you properly train, equip, monitor, motivate, evaluate, and deploy. The worst thing you can do if you've got a corrupt ranger force is to double it or triple it. Our main thrust going forward is to identify the honest rangers and to reinforce them through training, equipment, and leadership. Secondly, we're going to evaluate the entire staff and slowly start getting rid of the dead wood. And thirdly, we need to do highly selective training to identify the right material and to bring them into the range of force. We've chosen these 12 officers to attend the training, and they will have a huge impact on the slow turning around of Kasungu.
Standing position!
This is now the third day of their training. Before they're certified as part of the unit, they've got to undergo a total of 36 days of training. So this is the first step, and as long as we can keep them sober and honest through the training, monitoring and evaluation, we'll wield them into an effective force.
Standing position!
We find ourselves at Singwe Camp, and the reason why we developed in Singwe Camp is that it will secure a very vulnerable part of Kasungu National Park. What we want to set up here is barracks. So we want an elite unit to come in here where they are secure, where we control their communications and their movement. We brief them, we deploy from here. Here we control them. They cannot leak information to the poachers for reward.
Sometimes our rangers, they follow poachers up to a distance of 15 to 20 kilometers overnight. The food that we are preparing, they will give them energy to follow poachers wherever they go. We are trying to build them to be strong so that when they are encountering those poachers, they need to be strong as well.
If a poacher shoots an animal inside Kasungu National Park, our anti-poaching efforts try to track him down and bring him to justice. If he leaves the boundary of the park and he wants to trade with that ivory outside the park, that is where our intelligence and investigations focus kicks in. So this area here is all the Zambian border. And you can see that approximately 1/3 of the whole of Kasungu National Park is bordered by another country. Now, criminals will very commonly use an international boundary to move contraband from one side to another. And this is exactly why we do joint training and run joint operations, so that we can combat the criminal on both sides of the border. We started our work here in Kasungu in December 2015. And in the 4 months before we got here, a total of 4 people were convicted in court for wildlife crimes. Since we arrived and since we started our operation, we have got 54 convictions in a court of law. The fines handed down in the 4 months before we came here, they totaled 40,000 kwacha. In the 4 months since we've come here, they amount to over 2.8 million kwacha. When it comes to jail sentences handed down in a court of law, not one offender was sentenced to as much as 1 month in jail. In the 4 months since we've been here, the courts have handed down a total of 364 months. There is no doubt, and the track record shows, that things can be turned around. The solutions are easy and they're straightforward. The difficulty is implementing them in a hostile environment. And we're ready for that. That is why we're here without running water and electricity. That is why we're here taking it step by step, and that is why we have achieved the spectacular results we have. This is not a problem that's going to go away overnight. We need to be here for years to come. I look at the small core of dedicated rangers, and they have never given up, and they look to me for leadership, and I'm not going to give up on them. We're in for the long haul. A battle's only lost when one side gives up. It's not going to be us. We're going to see this thing through, and we will see change and the restoration of Kasungu to its former glory.